How concerned should we be about the threat of a nuclear war? Well, the White House is sounding the alarm in the final weeks of the Biden administration about the possibility of two major nuclear threats. NewsNation's Tom Dempsey has the latest from the White House. Tom, this is unsettling at the least. We've been hearing for weeks about how Iran's terrorist network in the Middle East has been crippled. Now the Biden administration says that could actually make the Islamic Republic more likely to build a nuke.
That's right. Good morning, Nick. Look, inside the White House, we know President Joe Biden's team has recently been briefing the incoming Trump team about growing concerns that Iran could be moving closer to building a nuclear weapon. This is in the face of the country facing some big setbacks during the ongoing wars in the Middle East. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan has recently been meeting with members of the president-elect's team about how a weakened Iran could build a nuclear weapon. Sullivan saying Iran has been backed into a corner after Hamas and Hezbollah suffered some serious losses in its wars with Israel, warning that those losses, combined with recent Israeli strikes on Iranian military facilities and air defenses, as well as the fall of Bashar al-Assad in Syria, could cause the Iranian regime to panic. And Iran's not the only threat the White House team is worried about, as President Joe Biden's deputy national security advisor is now calling Pakistan an emerging global threat, saying the country is developing long-range ballistic missiles with the capability of hitting the United States. Very important to note, too, that Pakistan was a very key ally of the United States during its war back in the early 2000s with al-Qaeda. But Pakistan's growing nuclear weapons program, as well as its ties with China, definitely causing some concerns here in the United States, Nick.
Tom, you talked about how the Biden administration is aware and raising the alarm, but how is the Trump team reacting to all of this news as they get ready to transition into the White House?
Well, on the campaign trail earlier this year, President-elect Donald Trump said the world could be potentially moving closer to World War III. And in response to all this, some Republicans have really been calling on the president-elect to put even more pressure on Iran once he takes office. And some of them are even calling on President-elect Trump to conduct strikes against Iran when he takes office. The UN's nuclear watchdog group has warned that Iran has enriched uranium to 60%. And to put that in perspective, it takes 90% to produce a nuclear weapon. U.S. intelligence suggests that if the uranium is further enriched, Iran will have enough material for about a dozen nuclear weapons. And it's also important to note that President-elect Donald Trump pulled out of that Iran nuclear deal during his first term that put restrictions on Iran's nuclear program in return for sanctions relief. But National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan saying that with Iran in a weakened state right now, that could potentially pose an opportunity for the president-elect to work out some diplomacy with Iran.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. Also, don't forget to click that red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.